Snake, talk to me! Snake! Snake!
Right, Dan, I can't believe we are the only gaming podcast that already banned from a number of game stores and now, because of an incident, a medieval village fair.
It's still not my fault, dude. If you put full immersion experience on a sign, I'm going to show up wearing chainmail and wielding a flail.
Still, it kind of going to fit with today's topic in that, you know, we're going to talk about games that promised us the universe.
What, and delivered a loading screen and emotional trauma?
Yeah, the classic bait and switch. You know the type. The trailer shows dragons fighting on the moon while your decisions shape civilization itself. And then the actual game is collect 14 mushrooms for Greg.
Who's Greg?
You know, Greg, every open world game has a Greg. He's standing slightly outside the main town with a problem involving wolves or rats.
Yeah. And then you get the games that promise a living, breathing world with limitless player freedom.
Yeah, and what they meant was you could choose between 3 hairstyles.
Yeah, none of them looked any good. My favourite's when the publishers say, your choices matter.
Don't you dare, Dan.
Mass Effect.
I said don't.
You know, games where the final choice just equates to choosing a different colour door to walk through.
Still hurts. But survival games, though, they're the kings of overpromising.
Hyper-realistic ecosystem simulations.
Translated, your character dies because he's got damp for 4 seconds.
I ate one berry and my gut immediately developed 17 medical conditions.
And you spend 4 hours building a shelter?
And a naked man named XX Pants Destroyer 24 kills you with a rock.
Pure immersion.
Dan with a gaming flair, pixel dreams and worlds to share, joystick tales and button cues. Welcome to Gaming.
Welcome to another episode of Gaming Views, and this is where normally I have a witty introduction that sort of fits the theme of the week's topic and involves you, Dan. But in a classic, I'm going to guess bait and switch, I'm going to say I planned it. I'd forgotten to do an introduction, so this is the introduction. So hi, Dan.
I mean, you could just put something in like before that's ultra amazing, and then this is the shitty bit that is the reality. Because that's essentially what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, it's just, look, you mentioned in the last episode that I was going away on holiday and I've been back all of what I think 24 hours and my brain.
Yeah, and slept less than that. So, yeah.
And so I think as long as I've just a forgotten introduction is probably the best I can hope for. So we'll see what my brain comes out with during this episode because it's been an interesting day.
Yeah, I'm not open for much out of this episode right now, but yeah, let's. Well, between my microphone and your lack of sleep, we probably come up with something a bit more half-assed than usual.
But yes, Dan, how are you doing anyway? How's things been treating you? Because it's been 6 hours since I last saw you, but it's been a couple of weeks since we sat here talking. It
has. And firstly, can I say it is wonderful to have you back and be back doing this?
You're lovely.
Because I've missed it terribly, albeit it has given me a lot of opportunity to play a lot of games, as you'll find out shortly. Life's good. Everything's good. It's all good. Good things are good and gooding.
Well, I'm glad.
How about you? Other than tired?
Yeah. Oh, I had a great holiday. Yeah, it's good to be back though. I kept looking, sort of keeping up with looking at the social media and seeing things and listening to our episode while I was on holiday. That's not sad. That's dedication.
That's why it'd be. I mean, I know you missed me, so now I know for sure because you just went, I need to be close to him. I'll listen and watch an episode.
But it just is funny, and now you're kind of seeing it as well, where we've not recorded for like 2 or 3 weeks, but we sort of worked hard before the break to get the episodes going out. And now this one, well, to be fair, recording this within 24 hours of me getting back, and you've got like 48 hours to get it turned around. So it's
yeah, I'm not sure if I'm Nick Nolte or Eddie Murphy, but one of them. We'll get it. I'll get it done. But
yeah, but it is good to be doing this. I've missed this, and like I said though, at any point if I start talking gibberish more than normal, just let me know.
No. I'm going to let the people know.
Okay,
the people can let you know.
Brilliant. So housekeeping. I was going to do it, but Dan, no, I think you should.
Oh my God, you're already late. You're going to go for a quick kip. Yeah, people, thank you for sticking with us. For those who are coming back to listen to us, thank you very much. Dan and I genuinely appreciate it. We love having you guys on board. And for those of you who aren't yet with us or are watching this for the first time or watching this for the second time and still haven't clicked subscribe, please do. It doesn't mean a lot to you. It means the world to us. Just click that little button.
Yeah, and all I'm going to add is if you are, I've said it a few times, but if you're listening to us on audio only, let me try tempt you over to the YouTube channel or the video on Spotify, because Dan does a bloody brilliant job. I keep saying it, of putting a video episode together, and you'll get clips and little sort of extras that Dan puts in when we're talking about certain things, which I absolutely love seeing. So yeah.
You also get to put a face to a name, because I don't know about you, but I quite like listening to people and then wondering what the hell they look like and then getting it completely wrong, like I did with Tim from Game Club Pod. I thought he was something completely different to what I imagined him completely different. Then saw him on video and went, "Oh, this is very different." Better, by the way. Just in case he's listening, I don't want him and Joe turning up my door beating on me. But yeah, he's I like doing that. So yeah, you get to see what we look like, better or worse, to be fair.
But yeah, but however you want to listen to us or watch us, just keep listening and watching to us.
Keep doing it.
Right. What we've been playing, Dan, I want to start. Normally I ask you, but that's because I've had about 45 minutes of game time since we've last spoken.
Smooth.
And that was Forza Horizon 6. Yeah, I literally started it last night. I've done the first handful of races, and I do love the Forza, the Horizon game specifically. And every time I start, the opening couple of hours are always my favourite bit as well, where it introduces you to the country that it's in and the sort of the races. You get some of the big set pieces, and this is no exception. It's a very pretty game as well, isn't it?
I think it looks phenomenal. I haven't downloaded it yet. I've been prompted to by several people, and I haven't done yet. But I've seen lots of screenshots, and I've seen lots of video running on it, and it does look incredible. And I think I'm right in saying you were particularly looking forward to this one because of the setting in Japan.
Yeah.
And you know the city and countryside and things and stuff like that. So yeah, I am looking forward to hearing lots about it when you've had a chance, and I want to hear how you get on racing a giant robot.
Yeah, I saw a clip of that, and I can't wait. Yeah, I can't wait for that bit. So yeah, it's like I said, I've only done the first couple of hours. Have you seen the stories about that really over aggressive AI?
Yeah, jumping on people and smashing them through the floor. And yes, I thought it was very, very funny.
So I've seen loads of videos of people. What is it? Bowie knife, and I think there's a number 99. Is it? I think yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, people getting their revenge on them. But yeah, I think I'll be playing that for a couple of weeks. Like I said, I do love the Horizon games. So yeah, I will give you more updates next episode. But Dan, I know, like you said, you've enjoyed my time off. Very much so, it looks like. So tell us what you've been playing.
Yeah, I mean, for those familiar with the show, I normally show up and go, "I've been playing Crimson Desert," and that's about it. And in fairness, I have played a bit of Crimson Desert, but I'm not going to talk about that. I did also finish, just as updates, I finished the early access of Alabaster Dawn, which I thoroughly enjoyed. If you want a great, lovely retro style RPG in the kind of Zelda Secret of Mana style mold, go check it out. It's amazing on early access on Steam. It will be updated continually with more story and everything like that, but it's really, really good. Really enjoyed that. And then I downloaded, I'll talk about a couple of games first. So I downloaded, so there was lots to talk recently about Subnautica 2. And look, good job to the guys at Crafton Studios. I know they've kind of done a great job on the game. Lots of people love it. And I think they've now sold enough copies to earn the money. If you don't know what that's about, we covered it in a previous episode. There was kind of some legal furore around the publisher not wanting to pay the original CEOs of the company. I think they've now triggered that, so they will get their money. It's great. I'd love 250 million quid, but I didn't make a great game. So I played what amounts to probably about less than an hour of Subnautica 2. Now, I think it's a specific sort of game for a specific sort of people, and there are many of them. More power to you. You do you. I couldn't fucking get on with it, and I really didn't like it. So I couldn't even get out of the first area. And I think that's a me problem, not a game problem. but I really didn't understand anything that was happening. And I'd never played Subnautica. In fairness, I thought I'd dive in. I might like it. I might like a kind of light touch survival game.
Is it dive?
Oh, thanks. Yeah, yeah, no, we're not doing fish puns again. Then stop coughing off. Yeah, so I didn't like Subnautica 2. I know people do. So again, I think it's a me thing, but it's not my style. So I kind of very quickly moved away from Subnautica 2. I probably didn't give it long enough. People tell me in the comments if you played it and loved it, or hated it, whatever. I then moved over to a little indie game on Game Pass called Black Jacket, which is essentially a rogue card deck builder style game. Based around blackjack. So, what do they call it in the UK? Pontoon. Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
21's Pontoon.
Pontoon and blackjack. But yeah, Pontoon was the other name I remember it as, yeah.
Yeah. Pontoon or blackjack. The idea is to build a deck that allows you to score 21 being an ace and a high card, or any connotation of up to 5 cards that make the number 21, and you play against avatars going through different levels, and the idea is you are in hell, some what's the Greek version of hell, you're wherever that is, and you're trying to make enough money to pay the ferryman,
right?
Which is weird because I think you only ever had to give a coin to the ferryman, but you're supposed to be earning money to defeat these demons to get across the river Styx.
Cost of living crisis.
Yeah, cost of living increase. I think that's exactly what's happened, Dad. It's good. I think there are multiple ways you can beat it. The problem for me is it didn't have the same hook as something like Balatro. It just didn't get its teeth into me, but I played it for a good couple of hours. I enjoyed it. I think if you like it and you like that game in particular, Balatro hit me hard because I love poker, but I'm not a massive fan. I've never been a massive fan. I think it's a very simple game, although I appreciate, there are complexities to it that I don't understand because I haven't been into it. But if you like that sort of thing, I think you should have a look and give it a go. It's interesting. There are some great variations on kind of the buffs and things that you can get. There's some nice things in there, so you can half your opponent's card score, and you can double your own, and you can make certain things happen. It does get quite complex, I think, the more you get into it, and you can then use money you earn to buy additional cards or buy trinkets that buff your deck and things like that. So like the Joker cards in Balatro, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's Black Jacket. Yeah, I enjoyed it, but I'm not sure I'll go back to it. I then at that point I'd bought Death Stranding 2, which was a bit weird for me. So I enjoyed Death Stranding, but I think I got about a third of the way through it and went, yeah, I've kind of had enough. Like, okay. I didn't feel the urge to go back and finish it. There was nothing driving me forward. I quite liked the story, but it felt so sparse and disparate in between story beats that I kind of just lost interest, which is disappointing. And I'm not I like Hideo Kojima. I like his games. I loved the original Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2. I kind of went off it at kind of 3 and Snake Eater and Phantom Limb or whatever it's called, Phantom Pain. So I kind of went off them at that point, but I wanted something that I could run on my new PC that was kind of looked pretty. I've said I'm a bit of a magpie, right? I like pretty things. So I bought Death Stranding 2, and by God, right? Firstly, I didn't think he could top the level of insanity that was in Death Stranding 1. This game is absolute fucking nonsense, right? In the best possible Kojima way. It's lunacy.
I can't even imagine a game that's crazier than that one. That's the thing.
Mate, right. When you get a chance to play it, it is. Secondly, what I love about this game is it gets straight into it. Right. It just goes hard. Like yes, there are still the deliver packages thing, but they introduce so many other mechanics, elements. The combat is ramped up significantly. Like, and really fucking insanely. Like, you'll be in a mission and you'll be like in the first opening area, and you suddenly start making your way back through this area, and suddenly these robots, just pop up out of nowhere, and they're like, and he's like, who the hell are these guys? So you can start shooting them without fear of, in the previous game you couldn't kill the human enemies because you'd end up having an event, and because they're robots, it doesn't matter. So you spend 5 or 10 minutes going through this area, mowing down robots, like with abandoned glee, going, yeah, I can kill things. And then they disappear and they fuck off, and you don't see them again. I'm sure you do at some point, but I haven't seen them again, and I've been playing for 30 hours. And I'm like, what? Like,
Do you think
it's mad.
I wonder if some of that was going to be natural evolution of the game, or if, because there was a lot of criticism of the original game. I'm not saying it's justified or right, but a lot of people saying there's not much to do, and it's a sparse experience. So I wonder if some of this might have come from that.
Potentially, and I did enjoy. I've spoken before on the pod about I enjoyed Death Stranding for that element of it. I liked when the camera pans up and you have this beautiful music by Low Roar playing, and you're just kind of wandering around the environment, and it really did. It had an emotional hit on me because I remembered kind of times when I used to go for walks with my dad, like we used to go and walk the Pennines and things like that, and that kind of seeing that majestic sweeping landscape and kind of going, oh, that's very cool. This is just cool in a different way. It's like, the combat is ramped up significantly. You don't feel like in the first game, I spent an awful lot of time just using my strand when I was in combat because it was easy to parry things. You could easily take people down and knock them out. And I very rarely used a weapon. The bolo, I didn't use a lot. The gun, the pistol, I didn't use a lot. This game, you've got machine guns, you've got like heavy artillery machine guns, you've got a grenade pistol, you've got shotguns, so it's really geared towards amping up the combat, and these are even against human enemies. Right. You've got a sniper rifle, you've got so suddenly you're like, I'm a proper merc now. I can just go in and kill everything and wipe stuff out. And the BT thing is reduced slightly. They're still there, but I think you're given many options to avoid them, and you get, you've still got like the blood grenades and things like that. But there are other options you're given. There's so many more different buildings and things like that you can do. And the story, like I said, is just absolute lunacy. It's mad in a brilliant way. If I just say that your sidekick throughout the game is a ventriloquist dummy that hangs off of your belt, and you use him as a scout. If you want to, you can throw him above enemy camps to scout and look for you, and he continues talking to you while you're doing this, by the way, and then just pull him back, and he's on a string, so you just pull him back. It's
sounds
bonkers.
Great. I mean, I love the first game. I love the first game, so this just sounds like it's kind of evolved it in the right and fun ways.
I think so. Yeah, Higgs is back, so you've got those great character actors. I'm really enjoying it. So and it does feel like I want to get through to the end of this one. So much so that I was like, I'm just gonna polish up on the previous game's story because I never got to the end of it. So I kind of got the beats of where I was at. Really good. Really enjoying Death Stranding 2, and it looks beautiful. It's a stunning looking game. Like that engine is something else. It looks amazing. I can't wait for OD because it's built in that engine. I think that's going to be something special. Next game I played. So there's two more. Sorry, people. For those of you bored of listening to my voice. So the next game I picked out it looked interesting, and I thought it was a game from a couple of years ago that had appeared on Game Pass. So I picked it up, started playing it, and then realised, as I said, I saw a couple of reviews from it and went, oh, this is like a new day one release. So this is Lunar Abyss. I'd never seen anything about Lunar Abyss before. This game is Doom by way of Returnal crossed with a little bit of, I would say BioShock, but it's not. That's kind of from a story, but not really. Plus Metroid, if it was all mixed in a pot by H.R. Geiger. Nice. So essentially, the story is I think it was like a couple of 100 years ago, an object appeared above the Earth. For all intents and purposes, it looks like a red moon. And in those 200 years, a colony was built there, but it is now 200 years later, and it's essentially a penal colony that people go and explore. So you're sentenced to go and serve time there, and your time is in hours. So you play a character called Fawkes, and this is one of the things I love about this game. It plays very heavily on British culture and language and people. and certainly all of the voices are kind of regional dialect voices from the UK. So it's wonderful in that respect.
Yeah.
You play a character called Fawkes. I'm not going to say they, because it's very clear that this is about a nondescript. She doesn't. They don't refer to themselves as a he or she, and they are a scout. So their job is to investigate the colony and explore and report back. And for the further they go, the more time gets chopped off their sentence. But something happens in the first chapter that breaks that whole thing. And so you end up being kind of this one scout that is very different to all the others that have come before you, and therefore start gaining these powers. And there's a whole story interplay underneath that sits underneath it around why this is happening, and you uncover it gradually as you're going along. I'm probably about halfway through it, so I haven't uncovered the whole thing. But it's just, look, if you're a Twitch game like if you like Twitch gaming and you like in that shooting mode, it's probably not going to be for you, because it uses a similar lock onto Metroid. So you literally hold down the L trigger, it locks onto the nearest enemy, you can flick between them, and you can shoot. There are mechanics around how the guns work. It's the kind of Returnal piece comes through. It's a little bit bullet storm, so you're dodging things while massive orbs and bullets and things while you're shooting other things. It's got a really good mechanic that the way you recharge your health is when an enemy reaches a very minimal amount of health, you can tap right bumper and you'll absorb the enemy, and therefore you will regain your health, which is really useful in a bullet hell kind of shooter. But there's a risk reward thing there, because the other thing you can do is when you get them down to a certain amount, once you've got the power, you can hold down the right bumper, and instead of absorbing them, you explode them.
Right. Okay.
So you can therefore cause damage to other people. So, which is a really nice mechanic. You can inhabit other forms. So there's a lovely puzzle element to it, where you can basically possess certain items around the map or around the area you're in. And that will help you move between certain stages, and there's certain puzzle elements around that I don't want to spoil. And there are all these mechanics that are introduced really gradually but really cleverly. At one point you can possess a massive mech and basically walk around blowing things up, and it looks beautiful. It's a really weird, I've not seen anything like it in the shooter arena. I've seen dark corridor shooters, of which some of this is, but because it's got that kind of Geiger-esque insectile influence, it looks really good. So I'm really enjoying it. I played it on the PC to begin with, but actually then I was downstairs before I set my PC up, which I'll talk about in a sec. I downloaded it on the Xbox, and I was playing on the Xbox as well.
It's
got
Game
crossplay.
Pass, right? It's on Game Pass. Yeah. So I saw when I logged on to Game Pass yesterday to download Forza, I saw this on there. There was actually a batch of games that looked quite good. So I downloaded about 3 or 4 games. So it looks like Game Pass is doing that really, when it gets it right, it's doing that good thing of, sort of like the big hitter with, say, Forza, but then games like Lunar Abyss, and I think Black Jacket, is that not PC Game Pass, I think?
I can't remember. I don't know if it was on that or if I think I was playing on an Xbox Game Pass, I think.
I was at Xbox, but yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
So yeah, it's doing that great thing of sort of that mix of the sort of the lesser known games, or the games that you might not necessarily have gone out and bought. So
exactly, yeah. And this was a lovely surprise. And I saw a couple of reviews. I think Game Rant was one of them, and it was basically along the lines of if you haven't played this, you're missing out on one of the best shooters of the year. And it is really good. I'm having a lot of fun with it. So check that out. Then I was very torn about 007 First Light.
Yeah.
So it was a game we'd talked about last year, and I'd kind of been like, it looks okay, but it looks like you just wander around shooting red barrels, which to some extent you do, but there's kind of a reason behind that. And so I was umming and ahhing about picking it up. And then, as I said to you, I was being a bit geeky, and I set up streaming between my PC upstairs and my big ass TV downstairs. So I use Sunshine as my host on my PC, and I use Moonlight to basically stream from my PC, and I got it working to a degree where it runs at 4K 120 frames a second on the TV. It looks beautiful, and it's on this big OLED TV, and I can sit on a sofa. It's all very nice and comfortable. So I thought, fuck it, I'm going to treat myself. So I bought 007 First Light on Steam. And I was saying to you today when we went for a walk that I am really enjoying the Bond elements of this. The story, I think, is fantastic. I think they've done exactly the right thing. So this is IO Games who did the Hitman series. I think they've done exactly the right thing. They've not tried to cram a Bond game into Hitman, but at the same time, they've not tried to do something massively dissimilar from Hitman, but they've come up with something quite unique. The story is phenomenal, right? And considering those guys aren't really well known for crafting complex stories around Hitman and Agent 47, this thing is done really, really well. I mean, it could be a Bond movie, right? And so they've taken it back. You play a 26-year-old young Bond, fresh out of kind of military service for reasons I won't go into because it's a bit of a spoiler. But you end up qualifying for the next iteration of the 007. It's been bought out of retirement, basically. The 00 badge has been bought out of retirement, and you're now looking to claim a 00. And the whole story stems from that, right? You start, and one of the beautiful things, this isn't a spoiler, one of the beautiful things about is that this is how it does training. So, like one of the most boring bits of a game is normally you'll go through and go, oh, God, I've got to learn how to jump, and I've got to learn how to dash, and I've got to learn how to... The way this game does it, it intersects all these things as part of the story. So you travel to Malta, to the training, Malta or Cyprus? Malta, to the training grounds to train. So you're training with other agents and going through these scenarios as an agent to learn how the game works, which I think is just done really well. But the story spirals and spins off from then. You've got Lenny James is playing your mentor Greenway, and he's brilliant. His character's brilliant. His arc is brilliant. I guess I'm about halfway through. For those who've played it and are playing it, Satsu, I'm looking at you. I've just got to kind of Vietnam. So I'm just in the bit where you're at the beautiful lush islands and all these sorts of things, and the kind of bad guys revealed themselves, and it's pure Bond. It's bombastic. It's brilliant. It could be Call of Duty on steroids. A lot of the stuff that happens and the way the game kicks off and a lot of the cutscenes, it just looks stunning. My problem with it, and I hate to say this, I love the elements of the Hitman style stuff that it does, the investigation bit, the creeping around, the not getting spotted. I'm really enjoying all that. The bit that I wanted to love and I'm really struggled with is the combat, and that the shooting and the melee in particular. It felt, and I'll get into why I think this is, it felt really clumsy while I was playing it. I struggled a lot with, look, I can play games like Arkham with my eyes shut, right, and do really well at them. I love that style of, counter punch, I love all of that. This has the same mechanic, but I cannot for some reason get the hang of it. It wasn't working for me. I'm going to caveat this in a minute. The shooting felt slow and awkward, like Uncharted, very like Uncharted in its approach to shooting and combat. And yet, I just couldn't pull off headshots. I couldn't, and this is really weird for a game like that because that's ultimately what you're trying to do. I think I found the problem there, Dan. So after work today, I jumped on for a couple of hours or an hour, and I was like, I'm just going to play it on my desk. I think the issue is the lag from. It's not really noticeable in a game like Crimson Desert, or a game like Death Stranding, or it's something to do with how I've got the settings, because PC settings can be a bit fiddly. So I made some adjustments on the PC before playing, in terms of speed of cursor move and things like that. My God, it's almost like a different game.
Oh, really? Okay.
I went through a mission just before Vietnam. People, again, not to spoil it, people know the mission I'm talking about. There was a lot of enemy like combat in terms of shooting. Like no problem at all. Like literally, it was like a different. I was, so I think there's a bit of the lag between the PC upstairs and the TV and the response time, and potentially the fact that some of the settings I'd adjusted to make it smoother and quicker. Yeah, so I think now it's working for me. I think I'm going to enjoy it a lot more. but it just goes to show those small kind of tweaks can make a big difference when you're playing in that way. And look, it's a me problem again. It's not I can see why all the reviews are saying it's one of the best Bond games. I can't disagree. There haven't been that many good ones. I did play GoldenEye at work the other day. Someone brought in an N64 and we had it on a big screen, and I was playing that, and I just thought, fucking hell, that game used to be amazing. Like it was, everyone just sit around and 4-player. It was so shit, Dan. It was just terrible. I don't want to use face buttons to look up and down. That's what thumbsticks are for. Thanks, Nintendo. But yeah, the 007 First Light, amazing Bond game. The music's phenomenal. It's like, goose pimples when like some of the themes kick in and things. And they've done a really clever way of reworking them into making it new and fresh. Yeah, I mean, look, Amazon's done a great job by getting IO Entertainment to build the IO games. I just hope they do as good a job with the next Bond, because it's a cracking game.
Yeah, no, that's a really good summary of that, because it's definitely on my list since I've come back. Obviously, it's been released, and seen the reviews, and the reviews are really good. And basically, what you said, the thing that's really got my interest is saying that it's a great single player campaign, but also that, and I think you said it, that it shows love to the Bond franchise, which, and I'm not the biggest Bond fan, but when a game sort of pays attention and shows investment in what it's trying to portray, like the franchise, it just makes it elevates it, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's a clear love and reverence for Bond and the heritage of Bond as well. There's some clever things in there, like you go to your room and you pick up, you can look at things as you're going around. So you flat share, don't ask, you'll find out. But you pick up a book of ornithology, and Bond in the traditional books was an ornithologist. He loved bird watching. I think the films mistranslated that, right. But in the books he was a bird watcher. He has a scar running down his cheek, which he does in the books. In the original books, he had a 3-inch scar running down his cheek. He has that in the game. They've done all of these things. And a shout out to, I think it's Patrick Gibson, who plays Bond in the game. He's phenomenal. Like, he's so good. Like as that,
I think I saw him
charm with a bit of smarm.
I think I saw him on the news the other day. It may have been BBC. They were interviewing him, I think, and it was because it's quite interesting to see the actor being interviewed on a news channel, because I said, we've said games are becoming more and more mainstream now, but it's I definitely want to play it. I've got a couple on the go, so I want to do 4. So I've got Requiem. I want to get started soon. But what I was going to say is, and I'm kind of really pleased for it doing well for a couple of reasons. One is it's another game that we discussed Mixtape a couple of weeks running. We put that sort of hot take episode out, and that also fell foul of certain area of social media. And this game,
people just call it Twitter now.
Yeah,
the hellscape that is X. Yeah.
And this game also was getting a lot of pre-release sort of vitriol and venom sort of thrown at it, saying that it's not going to sell well. Well, it sold like 1.5 million in 24 hours, didn't it? I think.
Yeah, something crazy. It's done really, really well.
But the other thing, and also for me, we mentioned it, or at least I know I did it a couple of times when they were showing previews, is I think the way they previewed it probably didn't fill me with confidence, because we said mostly focusing on the celebrities in there and just little bits and pieces, but it feels like I said, the reviews have totally done away with any concerns I had in terms of it and what you said about it being a good game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I think it was another one of those things where, why aren't they releasing new reviews until the day? Because I pre-ordered it, I got 24-hour early access, but actually the review didn't come out until about 2 hours before that early access opened. And so people were like, well, that's normally a sign of a bad game, right? Yeah. It's like they hold off and then they hope that the pre-orders don't get cancelled. And there was some controversy. They announced that Denuvo was going to be, the anti-cheat stuff was going to be related. Like a lot of these games, they hold off on saying that until about a week before launch, and that happened. So there was worry that people would cancel pre-orders because that. But yeah, I think it's genuinely, it's a lovely little package of a game. I think it does a great job with Bond. I'm really pleased that IO came out and said, look, this isn't the end of it, because I think the one thing it doesn't have is a lot of replayability.
Okay.
I think there are some objects to find, but I don't think there's masses of them. I think there's like 12 or so throughout the whole campaign, which are like little nods to previous Bond, like collectibles. I don't think there's masses of them though. So what they have said though, obviously you've got this Taksim thing, which is the Gemma Chan element, which is you can mix up levels. And I was just thinking of this, I was thinking the amount of opportunities they would have to introduce levels inspired by Dr. No or by Live and Let Die, they could introduce so many different elements because the costumes are all there, you can unlock costumes and that. So there's so much opportunity, I think, for them to go to town with Bond if they choose to, because now they've got the license just for that element of it. Look, what I will say about the story is it is all very James Bond. There's not a lot in there you haven't seen in one of the films or another, but the way it's stitched together is beautifully done, So, yeah, give it a go, people. That first light's really good, not disappointed.
Okay. Well, that's what Stan H been playing this week. So,
sorry.
No, don't say sorry. I mean, at least you played games. That's a good thing, right? I'll do better. Right. So let's do a quick comment corner. And I'm just going to look down on my phone because we got this earlier. And I thought, as you've been talking about 007, we had a message on X today from Anthony Longmore. So hi, Anthony. He has said, been playing 007 First Light. It's absolutely fantastic. A mix of Uncharted and Hitman. Story is brilliant. Thoroughly enjoying the game so far. Recommend you guys give it a go. I don't think you'd be disappointed. Dan P, hope you're enjoying your holidays. Well, they already seem long gone other than the jet lag. But it's kind of what you said, really, hasn't it? So, I'm looking forward to when I eventually get to play that. So, cheers for that, Anthony. We've had some comments on, so because obviously we're not recorded for a couple of weeks, I've got some comments they go across a couple of the episodes we've done. So on YouTube, we had this was on your crossover episode, collaboration and sort of crossover theme. Cutty said this was on Sonic Swimming Paradox. Sonic running out of air music caused me gaming induced anxiety as I frantically raced to find an air bubble. I think that's the thing with the Sonic music. It was quite stressful, wasn't it?
But all that chiptune stuff was just brilliant. And I will next episode I will talk about a game that I'm playing that has a lot of amazing chiptune music in it. But love Sonic. And
weirdly, I can't remember if I've said to you, but when you're underwater in games and you're struggling for air, that would always guarantee to stress me out. It always stresses me out. It's the only sort of scenario in a game that really stresses me. But anyway,
that's right. Sonic wears a life jacket now, mate. So
that's true. We move over to where we talk about Doom turning 10. We had Cutty again saying, "Lovely stuff, guys. Where have the last 10 years gone? Seemed like Doom 2016 came out at most 5 years ago." He said, "Dan, glad you mentioned Alabaster Dawn. It's a game that is on his radar in the last few years. Highly recommend Crosscode if you haven't already played, from the same developers as Alabaster Dawn, and it's very similar. Going to wait until Alabaster Dawn is out of early access, 1 to 2 years, so the developers say. Keep that backlog down and try to get some more games finished before starting it."
I'm gonna pick up Crosscode because I enjoyed what little I was able to play about it. There was a lot of content in it, don't get me wrong. I played it for I think it was about 20 hours worth of content in there, and there's a roguelike element you can continue to play. You go into dreamscapes and things like that to play. But I think, if those chaps keep hammering away at it for the next couple of years and release, I don't know, a couple of story beats every, 6 months or so, I'd be a happy chap. Continue playing that, but I do want to pick up Crosscodes. Thanks, Cutty. I'm gonna give that a go.
Tsunami said on the same one, another fantastic episode. Said it before, I say it again. Cannot believe it's been 10 years since Doom returned. Time, man, stops for no one, does it?
We're all getting old, people.
Yeah,
we're all getting. We will now measure time officially by Doom releases. That's what we're gonna do.
Well, by game releases. That's what we're definitely doing that this year. Frosty said, Doom, Unreal Tournament, the FPS games that shaped us. Can't disagree with that.
That and Quake.
Yeah, Quake, Wolfenstein. On one of the games where you were talking, on one of the videos, so we were talking about Doom, Sultan43210 said ball knowledge, which I believe means that, you knew what you were talking about.
It does. Yeah. I had to look that up. That is how I'm that many years old. I didn't know what that was. I could have asked my kids. They'd have told me. Our demographic is weird.
Yeah. On cleaning up the Silent Hill video. So this was where at the end of that episode I said, a crossover I would love to see would be Power Wash Simulator with Silent Hill. Adam1072 said that would be sick. And then Mark Lenton 5114, because you'd mentioned about Resi.
They did clean up Resi 7.
Yeah, he said, yes, do a power wash inside the Baker household. And God knows it needs it.
It does, yeah. It wouldn't be as scary either.
Yeah. On TikTok, on our video called Lightsabers and Uppercuts, Hair of Doom said, I'm surprised they haven't given us, this is, I think for Soul Calibur, I'm surprised they haven't given us an updated version. In fact, I would like a Soul Blade UK remake, but faithful. You get your weapons smashed, is now hand to hand. We used to try and break our weapons fast to see who could beat the other whilst they still had a weapon.
I love that idea.
Yeah.
I love the idea of having a fighting game where you start off with weapons and then you fight for a certain period of time and they break down.
Yeah.
And then you have to use hand to hand. I think that's a genius idea. What a game.
Yeah. And on Soul Calibur 2 special guests video, Aaron Douglas said, I actually love Spawn in the Xbox version, not going to lie, because you'd mentioned that I hadn't been aware that Spawn was the special character, right?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, I don't remember that much about it. I love Spawn. I love Todd McFarlane. I love all of his comic work. But I don't think I played that much of the Xbox version. Maybe I did. I think I was a GameCube Soul Calibur at the time, so I probably had a Link. That's probably my thing.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that's Comment Corner. So please do, if you've got any comments you want to drop us, drop us a note on TikTok, YouTube, or on X. I think this episode later on, the main subject of this episode might be prone to comments, or I think of opinions of people.
But people will certainly not be aware of it. That's for sure.
But so we love to get the comments and we love to read them out. So please do. Drop us a note. Now, the news. Now, Dan, I've done too much already in this little section. So, do you want to talk about a couple of news stories that you mentioned? Give me a break, a well-earned break.
Of course, yeah. Have a sip or have a bit of a sleep. More economic insanity this week as Valve, of all people. We all think of them as the cuddly uncle of video gaming, and they never do anything wrong. Well, they have increased the price of their Steam Deck models. Remember, we now only have the 512 gig OLED and the 1 terabyte OLED Steam Deck models, but increased their prices by a whopping £200. English, I'll get round to global pricing. So the 512 gig OLED model has gone from 479 to 649. Right, that's more expensive than a PlayStation 5, right?
Yeah.
Or about the same price these days.
About the same, I think,
yeah. And the 1 terabyte version has gone from 569 quid to £779, which, look, I'll get on to opinions. Let's just talk about what that means globally. So in the US, that means the 512 is now $789. In Canada, $1,129 Canadian dollars, and in Europe, $779. For the 1 terabyte in the US, it's $949 or $1,349 Canadian dollars, or 919 euros. Madness. What Valve said is that these new prices reflect the current state of component costs and other global logistical challenges across the industry as a whole. We all know Ramageddon, Rampocalypse, Ramnarok, whatever you want to call it, right? It's still there. It's still a problem, but I have to say, Dan, and I know other console owners, companies, have been doing this, but for them to do this of something of its age, right? The Steam Deck is still very priced. People love it. It's 5 years old now, but to increase the price on that by such a significant amount, I think, with everything else that's available now, you are pricing yourself out of the market at those prices. Is that intentional? Question mark. I don't know. Why would you? But, we know stock's been very limited recently. My honest opinion, and I know you love your Steam Deck, I just do not think this is worth it at all for that price now.
No, a few things from me. Firstly, it is a fantastic bit of kit. It honestly is. And I've got the LCD version. I've not even got the OLED. But you're right. It's 5 years old. The price increase, the amount of it is putting it into territory of like the ROG, the LIX. I don't know compared to the Lenovo systems, but it can't be too far off it now, I think.
Yeah, I think
pricey.
Lenovo definitely quite often tip over £1,000. So, but still, if you're spending 780 quid, right?
Yeah,
and the power output you're getting, and I know people love the Steam Deck, so I'm not disparaging it as a piece of kit. I just think at that price,
there's a couple of other things there for me. Firstly, look, you said it yourself, everyone is putting the prices up. So I think for them to put the price up itself isn't the issue. But one, I think it's the amount. But two, also, there was no warning. They just put the price up, didn't they? I think it was instantaneous.
Completely out of the blue.
Now, I think in America, I saw today, it has sold out again. Now, we don't know. It's been going in and out of stock around the world, I think, because of units. It doesn't mean that it's had a run on it. But yeah, I think you and I said, are they priming people for a higher price Steam machine? Are they trying to get rid of, because there's rumors of a Steam Deck in 27, 28? Are they trying to get rid of stock of Steam Decks? I don't know, but it's just, it's just the rare moment of a bit of negativity around Valve. And can I bring up one of your favourite friends, Tim Sweeney?
I don't really have many friends. Oh, yeah, that guy. Yeah, he's definitely my friend.
So he has said that, and this is what I love. There are some people don't get involved, right? And I think this is one person who shouldn't have got involved, right? So,
totally.
Yeah, Tim Sweeney has taken social media to throw shade at Valve and Gabe Newell over the Steam Deck price increase. Now, I've got this from gamingonlinux.com. Basically, he did a very sarcastic comment here. Now, when I first read it, I thought, he's siding with him. And then when I actually took a time to read it properly,
when you got to the end of it.
Yeah. So he has said, everyone's being too harsh here. There has been a significant rise in the cost of components that Steam customer spending ultimately funds. And economic trends have created severe disruptions in the component parts supply chain for mega yachts. Taking a dig at Gabe there. Now, people on social media have been quick to say to him, well, when was the last time Valve laid off 1,000 people? And the answer was never, or it isn't as often as, anyway, certainly as Epic had done it. So it's like, I know you're a competitor, or you see yourself as a competitor, but when you've, and only in recent weeks, you've done something as egregious as that, why are you getting involved?
He loves to do this, doesn't he? He's had a bone to pick with Gabe for a number of years now, and I think this all harks back to Epic's pop at the Steam kind of pricing and how the cut they take from developers. So he's had a long-standing beef with Gabe. I just the guy just needs to fucking learn to keep his mouth shut. Do you know what I mean? This isn't the first time we've mentioned on my ear for just being a bit of a knob and just kind of just deciding that, I don't know where he gets off on this fact that he thinks he's doing everything right, or if it's just a deflection thing to kind of go, I know how much of a moron I am with what I do, and he's probably got a bit of a bee in his bonnet because. Hasn't it like they've had to release Fortnite back onto Apple now, and it's doing it like on the Apple Store. It's just gone crazy again. So Fortnite's now available to Apple users. So obviously they're having to pay Apple a cut. So maybe he's just a bit having a tantrum. Because that's what it feels like.
It's just a classic moment of, I could say something funny here and take a dig at my rival. When, you've just been the focus of the news cycle for doing something not nice. Look, price rise isn't great, but it's only hurting potential buyers. Whereas this news hasn't hurt 1,000 employees in the business. So,
no, he also hates the fact that Steam does so well against the Epic Store, which doesn't.
So what's your space in terms of, because Steam Machine still hasn't been announced yet price wise or release date, so
correct.
Let's keep watching this space.
Alrighty. The other piece of news I have is, for once, the rumours were right, Dan, and I am absolutely stoked. There is a new, and I'm not going to call it DLC because that's been corrected. There is a new expansion coming for The Witcher 3. Yes, a game that is now 13 years old.
Yeah,
I want to say.
Yeah, feels like it.
There is a new expansion for The Witcher 3: The Wild Hunt.
Brilliant.
Called Songs of the Past. So it's going to launch next year on PS5, Xbox Series X, and PC. It's being co-developed with Fool's Theory. We did break this news a few months ago about the potential of Fool's Theory. I say break this news like we're serious, but that Fool's Theory were potentially developing this. So yeah, players will once again step into the monster slaying boots of Geralt of Rivia. For a new adventure. So yeah, a lot of people said, oh, there's some new DLC, and CD Projekt Red were very quick on the button going, it's not DLC, that's something we give away for free. This is an expansion. So this is really kind of like Blood and Wine and the others they've done. This is a real, whole game. Not just a kind of, a couple of quests. So yeah, super excited about this one, Dan. I love The Witcher 3 with a passion. I installed it the other day, actually, start going playing it again because I can. I've got to stop playing RPGs. So yeah, and now this is, I've got even more of an excuse. So I might leave it till a little bit later in the year. And then play this one over Christmas, maybe. Play Witcher 3 over Christmas, so I'm in readiness for the expansion. Yeah, I'm super excited.
Yeah, 2015 it was released, and yeah, I love the fact that it's an expansion. Do you remember back in the days we used to get game expansions, expansion packs, and yeah, looking forward to it. And I'm like you, I was sort of itching to play it again recently, but I've got sort of too many games now I want to get on the go. So I'm like you, probably towards the end of the year. But yeah, more Witcher is a good thing. So.
Yeah, well, it just hit a recent benchmark, didn't they? Then they announced they'd sold 60 million copies now, 65 million, something like that.
Yeah,
like since its launch, which, wow, that's a lot.
Yeah.
11 years old. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I've got just a few stories I just want to talk about. Remedy's, so this is from PC Gamer. Remedy's CEO isn't worried about Control Resonant launching close to GTA 6. It's going to put the spotlight even more on games than maybe in the past years. And I kind of love this view on it. So the article goes to say that while GTA 6 impending arrival has left other developers worried about how their own game will fare in the face of one of the most anticipated launches of all time, it looks like Remedy's new CEO, Jean-Charles Gaudeschon, isn't one of them. Chatting to the game business, he basically said, it's a year I believe that's going to raise the tide. It's going to put the spotlight even more on games than maybe in the past years. Hopefully GTA will sell consoles and raise the tide for all the players out there. And, I kind of love that. Everyone keeps talking about, oh, this game's going to be afraid to release at the same time. And look, going up directly against it, I'm not saying, that's a wise move. But in the wake of GTA 6, yeah, people are it's going to put the spotlight massively back on gaming. And like I said, if it sells a few more consoles, then people are going to be interested, right?
Yeah, I just wish more devs and more publishers looked at these things less of a war and more of that, a rising tide raises all ships, because he's not wrong. You get people interested in games. All right, it might not be your game that they're interested in. It might not be Control Resonant. It might be something else. But, you've got to remember there are people out there who are not GTA fans, not super fans. Undoubtedly, I will pick it up at some point. But if you stuck a choice in front of me, a GTA 6 and Control Resonant, I'm going to get Control Resonant every time, right? Because I love that. I love the story that thing is woven. I wasn't as invested in GTA. I was invested in that Control Remedyverse thing. So, there are people out there like me, right? And you might go, well, yeah, but you're just weird. You're a glitch in the matrix. But there are, right? So people will go and buy a console to play GTA 6, undoubtedly.
Yeah.
But then what do they do after that? Well, I'll go and play something else. I might pick up Control. I might pick up, Fable. I might pick, there is a world out there outside of GTA 6, and he's not wrong. And I just wish more devs and publishers stop looking at it like a competition of a piece of the pie and more of a competition of growing the pie. That's what I'd like people to do.
Yeah. And look, like the author of this article said, it's an optimistic perspective, but a practical one. While GTA 6 is going to be a massive launch, it's still just one game, and most players will finish a campaign and look for a new game. They said I pretty much shelved my PS5, but since that's going to be the only way I'll get to play GTA 5, 6, I'll be dusting off the console. Maybe a lot of you will be as well, which might then also inspire you to keep playing on it and picking up other games. So, yeah, it's like I said, it's again, I love having a view from a CEO of a company that isn't negative about another company. So yeah, let's see how that pans out. The next game, also this one is from PC Gamer, is titled "Indie Dev Earns Reddit Love After Telling People Not to Buy Their Game Because It's Going on Sale Soon." So it's about a game called Final Sentence, which is a battle royale typing game, and it's I think it was released last year, but where was it? So it says the concept's simple: you're sitting behind a typewriter and a masked man with a gun is standing beside you. Type fast and accurately, or get one in the head. There's a round-based battle royale mode and a one-on-one duel mode. So it actually sounds quite interesting. The dev then sort of went online and said, I want to make a short announcement about the upcoming sale, so those of you who haven't bought the game yet can save a couple of bucks for a copy or a compressed air duster for your keyboard. Seriously, that thing is worth buying to clean years of dust and food crumbs out your keyboard. And yet, that's all you're going to save. The amount of the discount wasn't shared, but Final Sentence is usually around $10, £9. So even at half price, you're only going to save a fiver, but the article says $5 or £5 is £5, right? But basically, the point on the reason why I wanted to include it is it's another. You don't often see this from a studio or a developer saying, "Look, don't buy my game just yet because it's going to be discounted soon," right?
Yeah, and what's nice about this is this is someone who's not going to be making a shitload of money off of this, right? You know, that they, for all intents and purposes, these are the studios you want to buy at full price because you want them to make something innovative and, you know, do something clever and smart and, you know, with their next game. Whereas the big publishing houses that are churning out, you can't imagine Ubisoft sitting there and going, "Don't buy it yet. We're gonna stick it on sale on the Xbox sale in a couple of weeks." So you can't imagine them doing that, you know. Whereas these guys who actually need the money to fund their next games are the ones doing it. It's bonkers. We live in an upside down world, though. Dan, it's just mad.
Yeah. So yeah, more power to developers like that. Yeah. And you know, I might just do. Well, I should have done this earlier because you were really stoked about
do them together.
Witcher.
Do them together, Dan.
All right. Well, you were really stoked about Witcher 3 expansion. So
I know, disappoint me, Dan.
So I'm going to temper that with the fact that literally just before we come on to record, I messaged you, and I've never seen WhatsApp sort of censor profanity like that. But basically, Xbox delays Fable to 2027. So yeah, Fable reboot is now looking to launch in February of 2027. The quote from them is that, you know, this year is packed with incredible games for Xbox players to enjoy, from Halo Campaign Evolved, Gears of War, E-Day, and Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4 to Control Resonance, Star Wars, Galactic Racer, and Grand Theft Auto 6. In order to plan our game launches through the holidays in a way that works best for players, we're moving Fable to February 2027 so it can have the dedicated moment it deserves. We're excited to be giving players a major new look at Fable, as well as our broader lineup at Xbox Game Showcase on June 7th. So, Dan, talk to me.
I'm gonna keep my language plain and simple, but do you know what all of those things, Halo Campaign Evolved, Gears of War, E-Day, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 4, Control Resonance, Star Wars Galactic Racer, and Grand Theft Auto 6 have in common?
What's that?
None of them are a fucking RPG with a pinch of Monty Python's Flying Circus. That's what they all have in common, Dan. So screw you guys. Right? Look, Playground Games are on a roll, right? They just released Horizon 6, which is Forza Horizon 6, which is stonking, is doing amazing. Is it 6? 6.
Yeah.
Six?
Yeah, 6.
6. Yeah, Japan, which is doing an amazing job. So, you know, fair play to them. I kind of get it. You know, it's a busy time for those guys. And yeah, you know, out of those, yes, I'll play Campaign Evolved. Yes, I'll play E-Day. I won't play Modern Warfare 4. I will play Control Resonant. I'll play Grand Theft Auto, but I probably won't be until the following year. I might wait till it comes out on PC, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not crushed. I'm disappointed. I'm interested to see what they come up with and what's being released when they do their summer show in a couple of weeks, which we'll cover. So I'm interested to see if there's anything there, because there's some hints around things like Clockwork Revolution and potentially, and I know they've said they are doing a deeper dive on Fable at that thing, so that might whet our appetites a bit. February's quite dry normally, so that would be quite nice to have something. I think this year was dominated by Requiem in February, but I think outside of that there wasn't a lot going on. I've got enough to play. I am frustrated it's been delayed, but I get it, and there's plenty for me to play.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like you said, the games that were mentioned aren't going to be everyone's cup of tea. And it is, I was thinking that February is probably a great month to release it. But, if we look at this year, we have had some really big games. I mean, we did an episode a few weeks ago on games so far. And the fact that that was recorded at the end of sort of April, start of May, doesn't, if we have another year like that next year, it doesn't mean it's going to get its own dedicated moment. I mean, we've got 7 months of this year for more announcements to be made from all the other houses.
And there's some cracking games coming up that I'm looking forward to, including like No Ghosts at the Grand and things like that. So I'm kind of hoping we get a bunch of stuff that hasn't even been announced yet, or certainly hasn't been announced to be released this year. I think there's a load of stuff we know is coming. But look, I love Halo, I love Gears of War. I'll be happy to play those in Control Resident. Will that keep me going till Christmas? I should think so. So I could probably scrape through February. I'll get by.
You'll get by. I mean, I'm gonna you'll still be playing Crimson Desert anyway.
Witcher 3. I will still play Crimson Desert. I can't play Crimson Desert and Witcher 3 together. Christ, Dan.
Just in time. I'm gonna sort of scrap the next one. The only thing I'm very quickly gonna mention, because we'll probably pick it up in our next episode or next couple of episodes anyway, is that yes, it looks like Sony have definitely confirmed that their first party single player games aren't going to be ported to the PC, which for me is gutting, because means no Wolverine, I think no Ghosts of Yotai. Multiplayer games are going to stay multi-platform, and look, I kind of get it, but it is also disappointing, especially when I think in the past, I remember the days where Microsoft were getting a lot of hate because they were paying to keep Call of Duty sort of exclusive, or certain maps exclusive on their system for a certain amount of time. I guess we're in a really tough financial climate now for we've said components, etc. I guess Sony have got to do what they've got to do to keep their IPs and their franchises exclusive to them, right?
Yeah, and I'm lucky enough to own both a decent PC and a PlayStation 5. So I'm not. It doesn't impact me as much. But I was, when I saw it, I was like, because let's be honest, my PC can run things much better than the PlayStation 5 can, and at a cheaper cost in terms of the price of the game. So had I had the opportunity, I would have happily have waited until a release of maybe not Wolverine, but other games came out that I could run on a PC at a decent clip. As it turns out, I'll have to dust my PlayStation off and to play Wolverine, which we've got a state of play coming in a couple of days, actually, that we'll cover next episode, I think. So, I'm looking forward to that. But it's disappointing, and I think a lot of PC players will be disappointed. But I just don't think they were seeing the returns on the releases that they did, which is a shame.
And also with the next Xbox presumably going to be a PC.
And why would you then just even though Microsoft have released all their shit on PlayStation now,
which may not be something going forward. So we will see. I know the story I was going to talk about, so I would very quickly say that they've announced that tough decisions have got to be made, but we'll see what Xbox decide to do with their IPs soon. So
yes, indeedy.
Right then, let's get on to the main theme of the episode. So
let's do it.
I was thinking about something that had always been in the back of my head was about gaming bait and switches. Now, I was saying to you today, I almost don't like that title.
What do you mean then, Dan, by bait and switch? What are you saying?
So
what are you telling us?
Games that promised one thing but delivered another. Now,
Right.
and it look.
Wow.
It,
I mean, how long have you got?
And this is why I want to change it also to being games that overpromised and underdelivered. I mean, the bait and switch mainly came from the first one I'm going to talk about, and look, it's going to be no surprise to a lot of people, but Aliens: Colonial Marines. So I'll talk about it shortly, but something I want to lay out at the start is this isn't an attempt to hate on any games. This is about looking at something that has plagued, as you said, games throughout time. You know, in this industry. And it's just to have a look at certain examples, the outrage that happened at the time. Do we think that was right? And have the games been able to redeem themselves? And has anything been learned? So it's, again, like I said, it's not hating, but it's like looking at something that fans have got a view on, the industry's got a view on, and just look at some of the biggest things that have shaped some of the stories and news cycles in the past, right? So let us start with Aliens: Colonial Marines, because this is the first one when I was thinking of this subject that came to mind. Now, it was a sequel, or it was marketed as a sequel to the Aliens films, but that's not the reason.
This is a Gearbox game, right? Was it
Was.
Gearbox?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Now, look, that being not necessarily being a true sequel to the films, it isn't why I call it bait and switch. So it was built with, however, it was built with involvement and approval connected to 20th Century Fox license holders. It was promised to be intense squad-based action, smart enemy AI where the xenomorphs hunted dynamically. The key thing, though, is it was promising, and if you've seen it, you'll know, high-end visuals that were shown in a number of demos, trailers, and especially it was one of the game shows, most likely going to be an E3, but you saw it and it looked stunning. Roll on release day in 2013, and what we got was basically broken enemy AI, ugly visuals, bugs, and a much worse game than previews suggested. Now, it's considered one of the most infamous bait and switch controversies in gaming history, because ultimately the game that was previewed looked totally different. You know, just to add on that, so the xenomorph AI often ran in circles and got stuck. And yeah, it just became, rather than like a tense sequel to the films, it became a generic corridor shooter rather than any survival horror tension. That was probably rectified by Alien Isolation sometime later.
Yes. Yeah.
So there is a couple of other things I want to talk about this before I hand over to you. So modders, a number of years later, reportedly found a typo in the AI configuration code. Basically, there was tether was spelled incorrectly, and this reportedly affected how the aliens navigated and tracked players. So fixing that improved the enemy behavior noticeably. And that typo became symbolic of how rough the release felt, although it wasn't the sole reason for all the problems, because we said the graphics. Now, if we can try to look at excuses for why it was so badly received on release. So it had a long development cycle. There were a number of studios involved. As always, shifting priorities, budget and time issues, outsourcing parts of the development, and I guess also people's high expectations of the license. But the key thing is, and you can't, and I know, well, I don't want to put it on you, but I know you'll probably find footage of the original E3 demo and the game.
Already done, my friend. Already have it. Already in the bag.
You're brilliant. So much so, we talk about bait switch. There was a lawsuit raised about this, right? That was connected to the difference between promotional demos and the shipped product. Now, the lawsuit ended ultimately without any dramatic courtroom win for players, but it's still become one of gaming's most notable false advertising cases. Short version, Sega agreed to a 1.25 million settlement while denying wrongdoing. Gearbox Software was dismissed from the case because they argued they were the developer, not the publisher or seller. It shouldn't be liable for the advertising claims in the same way, which I kind of, it's fair enough, because they're just making a game that they were told to make, right? The judge removed class action law status from it, meaning it no longer represented all buyers. And after that, the case lost most of its momentum. So Um, The proposed settlement indicated compensation for eligible players could come from the Sega fund, but it was not a massive payout. And typically, these consumer settlements result often in modest reimbursements. Now, yeah, if you look at the link, you can still see the this is from the topclassactions.com, which I think is a great site.
Topclassactions.com, the website.
Yeah, you know that shows, but basically, it's the fact that a game upset people so much that there was a class action lawsuit raised, for me, says everything. So, do you remember this one, and kind of what's your views on it?
You know, we've talked briefly about this before. Ironically, I'm wearing an Aliens themed T-shirt tonight.
Yes, yeah.
But we've talked about this game before, and I don't know if I've had some sort of stroke or something at some point, but I can remember. When you mention it, I can remember there was a whole thing around the graphics thing. After that, I'm like, no, I don't even remember the game. I'd never played it. It wasn't something I love Alien. I love the movies, right? I self-professed never played Alien Isolation, which everyone raved about. I do want to play it at some point, but I'm not sure I'll cope very well with it. I'll probably just panic and die. My heart, it's my age, Dan. So I was never heavily into kind of Alien games, it's not something I'm familiar with. Although when I watched the videos earlier, when I was getting them, I was like, yeah, that's pretty naughty. Like,
It is,
yeah, you kind of go, that doesn't look anything like what you suggested that was going to look like. So I can see why people would be really upset. It'd be interesting seeing some of your other examples if there were class action lawsuits, because there are worse examples, let's be fair.
I mean, I did pick this up eventually. I remember picking it up, the collector's edition, because it was like 20 quid. And the only reason is, and the statue wasn't that great either, painted wise, but it was what are those power suits? Is it the power suits that feature in the Alien?
Power loader.
Yeah, power loader. It was a Marine in one of those being attacked by a xenomorph. I wanted it just for that.
That was a bait and switch in itself, though, because you've talked about that.
Yeah, exactly. And
it looked amazing on the picture.
Yeah. And that was what I was going to say at the start. We're not even going to get into the whole sort of giveaways, because we've discussed on here like the Fallout 76 bag and the Infinity Stones or Infinity Eggs. But yeah, so I did pick it up. But yeah, look, this, and I think for me anyway, this game is the reason why when I see footage of games at these things like Summer Games Fest, etc., and it says it's not in-game footage, not that I get worried, but I can't take it seriously until I see in-game footage because of that very reason. Yeah,
agreed. Yeah, I mean, yes and no, and we'll probably come on to this later, but I sometimes wonder if I particularly, or other people as well, have just become desensitized to the whole thing. You just, I don't know about you, but when I see a pre-alpha footage notification on the bottom of anything, I just sit there immediately going, finished product ain't gonna look like that.
Yeah,
it just isn't gonna look like, because you quite almost know. You're like, yeah, we rendered this on a PC running two 5090 cards, and DLSS 5, making everything look pretty and completely changing everything. And when you actually get it, it will look like a lump of shit. But don't worry, we'll get our money.
But all the components were there for it to feel like it would be a great game. Sega, Gearbox, the Alien franchise, 20th Century Fox sort of license. But yeah, it just wasn't. And I remember, and look, a lot of games do this, but I remember one of the clips that was shown, and you could do it in the game. I remember doing it myself. Was as a character, if there were NPCs standing around, you could literally walk into them and just see a horrific,
and see their,
like the mouth,
eyeballs.
Yeah, the eyeballs. And that was...
I do remember that, actually. Yeah.
So, yeah. I mean, look. And the fact that there was a typo that a modder sort of found and fixed it.
Well, tether, would imply. I mean, you can see why they'd be running around in circles, because tether is something they use to obviously make the, either whichever character you're aiming that thing at, is one of the obviously command codes they're using for making sure they stay attached to that person.
Yeah.
If it's not spelled correctly or it doesn't know what you mean, it's like, I can't do that. I'm just going to wander around in circles. Thanks.
Oh dear. Do we think? Have we seen things like that be better? I know. Look, there's another game on my list later down. I was saying now, Watch Dogs, which I know was a similar thing.
Yeah.
I think we are in a better place with that now, right? In terms of like massive graphical sort of downgrades.
Yeah, I mean, we're almost at the point where, generational leaps aren't massive anymore graphically. So you don't really have that far to go. Because if something doesn't look as good as, I don't know, GTA 6, right? You're kind of like, well, because let's be honest, GTA 6 ain't gonna look like GTA 6 by the time it comes out. It will look pretty, don't get me wrong, but unless you've got a PC that's running 250-90 cards, it ain't going to look like the trailers do right now. That's just how it is. There will be a downgrade. And I think that's the point we've got to, is where what we're shown when we see these trailers are the thing running, if it is running, gameplay, on the best possible spec machine that it could possibly run on, and polished to the nth degree to give you that perspective. Now, we get why people would do, we get why publishers, developers would do that, right? You want to show it off in the best light possible. I totally get it. But we have to also be realistic that there will be 1% of gamers that are capable of running that.
Yeah.
Right? And so everyone else is kind of going, but I've got something that isn't like that. I think what's more unforgivable is the lack of polish on a game and the bugs and the, because look, unless it's a Starship Troopers game, I don't want bugs, right?
Yeah.
That's simple as that, right? Helldivers, which is a Starship Troopers game, not TM lawyers.
We don't have
any. And that's what I mean. I think we've been desensitized to it because of that reason. You're like, well, yeah, it's going to look amazing in that trailer. When I get it, it's not really going to look like that, I think, half the time. I think they should just have a bit of reality check when they show these things. They should go, here's a trailer, and in the trailer it should go, high-end PC, low-end PC, PlayStation 5, Xbox, and just kind of go, this is what you're getting. Because then they go, oh, right.
Well, you kind of do, in a sense of, it will say PC footage, or now, especially, you'll see, like on a PlayStation game, it will say PS5 Pro version. And I think, whilst it's not explicitly saying that, I think you as the viewer should be taking that to mean that, obviously, the PS4, if it's going to be on that, won't look as good as the PS5 Pro, right?
Totally right. I mean, I think PS4 is going away of the dodo for a lot of developers now, anyway, as is the old Xbox. But it always worries me when I see PC footage, because PC footage invariably means the best possible rig we could possibly build and have to run this thing, and therefore, have you got that? Are you going to run it like that? Oh, you're not. So, PC footage always watch out.
And just before I move on a real side note, I mean, even the thing you said at the start, like, you're running a streaming setup, which you initially thought 007, the combat wasn't great. So you could have gone online and slated it and lambasted it.
Totally.
But you've made a couple of tweaks and it's a better game. So that's the whole difficulty with the PC, right? So
exactly. There's so many nuances and changes and switches and bits and pieces you can turn, and dials and stuff on it that and that's half the fun of it, is getting it right.
Yeah.
But
well,
I was an idiot.
No. Right. Well, I'm going to move on to my next game, Metal Gear Solid 2. Now, before everyone starts shouting, and although we do want comments. Yeah. Sorry. This is what we call the Raiden bait and switch. Now, I know it's not a bait and switch in the sense of it was an intentional move by Hideo Kojima. It wasn't an accident. It wasn't a market mistake, but it felt to the fans of the game at the time as a bait and switch. So now, firstly, before I explain, did you know what this one was? Did you know about this?
Yeah, I played Metal Gear Solid 2. Once you put it up there, I saw the title and I was like, I wonder if he's talking about it. Because to me, I mean, I'll let you explain what it is. I wasn't that bothered, but I can see why other people would be.
Yeah, well, look, this all focuses on the fact that for the majority of the game, pretty much all of it, you don't play as a Solid Snake. You play as Raiden. Now, the thing is, early previews, again, we're talking about marketing, but whereas Aliens Colonial Marines was misleading in the sense of it was showing something that wasn't actually going to be in the game, early previews showed Solid Snake as the main protagonist. It was looking, and it was assumed that it was going to be a continuation of the story after Metal Gear Solid. It was gonna, everything pointed to Snake being back and he's the main character again. But what the game actually did was, as soon as the prologue was finished, where you did play as Solid Snake, the main character, the main playable character that you as a player controls is Raiden, and Snake is then moved into a supporting role, and the story shifts to totally Raiden's perspective for the majority of the game. And as I said, it happens early on because it's after the prologue, but at the time it shocked players. Now, why it felt like a bait and switch is, well, for everything I've said, players expected to be controlling Snake, and that alone caused the immediate backlash, especially as Raiden was a new character, was younger, less experienced, and less iconic than Snake, because Snake has always had that grizzled sort of veteran Kurt Russell in Escape from New York kind of vibe.
Yeah,
he was totally different. It was almost like the boy band sort of member to, like, Rambo. Do you know what I mean? It was a total tonal shift. So, like, instead of getting John,
your sleep's not getting up and catching up with you, is it?
No,
a boy band to Rambo.
No,
How
what I
did you
mean
get
is,
there?
like, instead of having like that grizzled veteran, you've got like someone from a boy band playing, and
like Raiden was the boy band. Yeah, I see what you're saying with you. I was like,
I should have said maybe analogy? Like a boy band to like a Rolling Stones member or something. That's probably what I should have said.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
But yeah, jet lag. Snake had been a common character people had become to love him. And the fact is, it was a Metal Gear Solid game. So I guess you're going to go into it expecting to play as that character, right?
Yeah. Yeah, at that point, knowing what you knew about the series at that point, yes. But obviously throughout the Metal Gear Solid series, you've played different, I want to call them variations of Snake, because you play a different Snake in what's the one, the jungle one?
Oh,
you play a younger version of one of the older Snake. These it's fucking Hideo Kojima, right? Is all you need to say.
This is it. Sorry, I was going to say, this is classic Kojima, and this was his intention. So the intent of doing this, because like I said, it wasn't a mistake. It was to explore player manipulation. It was to sort of question expectations in sequels, challenge who the real protagonist is, and make players experience narrative disorientation. But by through intent and purpose. Now, it basically, the bait and switch was the point of this twist. Now, as I said, the main controversial reasons for it is just people just hated Raiden, and it's
he also ran around naked for a bit. So I mean, it's fucking weird.
I mean, I think you kind of said it there. And look, ultimately, a developer can choose to make the protagonist of a game who they want when they want. But if in all the promotional material you are never alluding to the fact that you're going to be playing as a new character, I can guess why people could be disappointed.
Yeah, but again, in that typical Kojima way, he is extending the expectations and parameters he set for the game outside of the game. I think that the marketing materials would be, if your intent is to false expectations, manipulation of thought, all of those things, that is what he was doing this for, that probably extended out to the marketing as well. Well, let people think it's going to be that, and then it's not that, So I can kind of see why. Like I said, to me, I didn't really care. I wasn't, but mainly because I wasn't as invested in Snake as a character. The story for me, I always enjoyed the stealth elements of it, but I was never that invested in the whole overarching. And I know that, apologies, there are people out there who are heavily invested in this shit. Right? I wasn't. So for me, it was just like, it's just another stealth action game.
Good.
I quite like doing that.
If the game's good, that's what mattered. Yeah.
Exactly. So I wasn't that bothered by it, but I now you're talking about it and saying, I can see why people would be. You walk in with an expectation of playing that. It's like walking into Halo, expecting to play Master Chief and then playing some shitty knockoff.
Well, didn't that
that's
happen?
Halo 5.
I was going to say, yeah, that was Halo 5, wasn't it? Yeah.
yeah, right. You know, so yeah.
And look, the benefit of hindsight, the Metal Gear Solid series, and look, there's going to be another entry on this list. But the Metal Gear Solid games have always played around with the player, right? Even to the Psycho Mantis boss battle in Metal Gear Solid. Yeah, one of the games that you said is you can. I think that forest one, can't you put the clock forward on your system and the enemy
Snake Eater.
Ocelot becomes an old person, which you can then kill him when he's old or something. It's always messed around with the player, right?
Always.
Yeah.
Totally, right? Yes. Snake Eater, that's the...
Yeah. So, Metal Gear Solid 2, whilst not a bait and switch in terms of underhanded practice from not delivering, it was an intentional one. And, I kind of like it. And it's the sort of move I think we'd call genius nowadays.
Oh, yeah. Always. Yeah.
Right.
He didn't do that with Death Stranding too, by the way. You still play. I mean, he's got a proper thing about Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, he has a proper thing. He is a muse.
And he looks scarily realistic in the first game. Right.
He looked even more so in the second one.
I'm going to mention this one, but we can talk about it quickly. I won't go into massive detail, but it's No Man's Sky, because we've discussed it a few times here. And look, we have also declared how well the team the developers have turned this game around, and it showed that if you give a developers time, they can kind of deliver what their vision was. But
yeah, totally.
But the reason why I've put it on here is it's initially it was looking like it was going to be, and interviews and demos led players to believe that they were going to get multiplayer encounters, complex faction interactions, rich planetary ecosystems, large scale space conflict, etc. Then when the game released, it was much simpler game than the hype and I think the pre-release discussions had sort of promised. But it's now become one of the most sort of popular games. People love it. I know we had some comments on it when we discussed it in another video. But anything you want to kind of talk about on No Man's Sky?
I think other than I think you're absolutely right. Giving something time to breathe and space to breathe. Right, No Man's Sky promised a lot, and I think the naughtiest thing they did was they said you were all living in the same universe, and yet I think there was a point not long after launch where 2 players found the same planet, or 3 I can't remember what it was, but a couple of players found the same planet and they didn't actually exist in the same universe. So it was like, is that a thing? Is it really happening? So, I bought and played No Man's Sky at launch, and look, it was, for what it did, it was still, and this is what frustrates me about these things, it was still super fucking impressive, right? Nobody had done this since Brabham did like Elite, where and that was done with, 8-bit and, vector graphics to create this world. And this guy was creating trillions of procedurally generated planets, so all right, an animal on that planet looks similar to one 4 light years away, but fuck me, it's 4 light years away. Do you know? I'm like, go give the guy kudos. And the fact that where we are now with the latest release, you've got Swarm coming out, which is, and they've introduced Pokemon elements, all sorts of mad shit in there. Look, give it time to breathe, let it do what it does, and let them work on it. Now look at it. Maybe they should have said it's a early access or whatever, because that's what it would be now, right? You release it's early access, and they're not suddenly all's forgiven.
Yes,
what I mean?
I mean, look, the game came out in 2016, and as you said, it's still being supported. Just shout out, obviously, Hello Games, and founded by Sean Murray, I think, was the main kind of spokesperson for it. But I think it's important to talk about this mainly because, again, it was another game that on release, I think the expectations didn't, the delivered product didn't meet the expectations. Now, whether that is also partly in fault of the information given beforehand, but also of we've said before, the gaming public can often build things up to be a lot more than it's going to be. But I think in this instance, it probably was going to go more on the developer's side. But look, again, they turned it round, and it's not the game it was. And so let's shout them out for that. So
yeah, totally.
And I'm going to lump this one in at the same time again, just quickly because we've discussed it. But I feel we should mention it. Cyberpunk 2077. So again,
I bought this game at launch.
Oh, did you? Well, look.
Yeah, I had it.
All I'm going to say is again, the more it's not necessarily a bait and switch, but it was definitely, I think, overpromised and undelivered, because the game that launched just was full of poor frame rates, crashes pop in. I think
it was a shit show.
A lot of the missions were broken.
It was I was fucking horrendous. Like, there was a mission where I was riding my motorcycle somewhere, and I was literally 10 feet off of the seat. I was floating. It was Ghostbusters. You know, I like a woman who sleeps above her sheets. 10 feet above. Like, I was literally 10 foot above the bike going to this mission. And it was a mission where it's one of the early missions. You're then in the desert and you've got snipers firing at you, or you're trying to fire at them, and you couldn't hit shit. Like, it was so bugged. I literally stopped playing it for about 3 months until they patched some of it, and then went back to it.
I think the naughty thing that they did is, so this was specifically more for the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One launch models. The review code there was a controversy around the review code, because reviewers mainly received the PC code.
Right.
Yeah, and there were reportedly restrictions about some custom gameplay footage or restrictions on gameplay footage before release. So look, and even me, I remember buying it because of the Ferrari. The game got slashed in price quite quickly, so I remember buying it, but only when I knew, because they then released a next gen upgrade for it, didn't they?
They did. I mean, it got delisted from Sony. Sony took it off the store.
Well, I think they did a lot of refunds.
And offered refunds. Yeah, they did. Yeah, because it was so. But I had the Xbox version, so I'd bought the Xbox version originally. And then ironically, I ended up replacing my Xbox One when the HDMI port blew up with the limited edition Cyberpunk Xbox One Series, Xbox One Cyberpunk edition. That had the funny noise when you started it up and the controller and all
right.
that. So that I had that. Look, when they fixed it, they did a good job. Yeah. And even now, I mean, it's a technical powerhouse. Now, you look at a lot of the videos for graphics cards and for, working out, tiers of graphics cards. Cyberpunk is on there all the time. Like, there's a specific scene, a bar scene that they use, particularly for measurements of PC and how well the cards are performing. So, it's an absolute graphical powerhouse. It works really well now. It looks beautiful. So they've done the right thing. They then released Phantom Liberty as a DLC, which was phenomenal. Expansion. Sorry, CD Projekt Red. Look, it was a shit show when it launched. It was great. It is great now. I think that's,
Yeah. And look, and I think if I'm correct, I think there was a classic thing. I mean, usually that CD Projekt Red have always delivered fantastic games. I think there was a lot of pressure to get the game out. I think they wanted it out for the holiday season. And again, we had the dreaded crunch being used. They ran out of time to optimize the game. There's obviously, with the whole fact that previous generations linger on, I think, because this was Xbox One and PlayStation 4, they're trying to cram a certain game into the old system. So I think that also had an impact. But there was also, I think, as always, sort of bit of feature creep and scope when they're trying to add more things, maybe, and it just won't cram into those old systems. So, look, like you said, they've done a fantastic job. They redeemed it. I think the next gen upgrade, at least on the Xbox, was free.
Yes.
So yeah, but again, it's just another one of the most sort of noteworthy games I can remember where what people were expecting just didn't prove to fruition on their system.
Yeah, I was a little bit more forgiving, I think, as well, because I was very conscious of the fact that it was their first attempt at an FPS. which is it's how it was built. I know you can third person for a lot of the scenes, but it's a first person shooter. So there are a lot of the mechanics and things that they'd never tried in something like The Witcher, in the Witcher series. That was really their only stuff they'd done before. That they had to cram into this. So I was very conscious of that. And so I was a little bit more forgiving about it. And maybe I was hopeful that they would have fixed all that in a day one patch or whatever. They didn't. And like I said, I put it down for 3 months and then went back to it. And by that time, a number of the bugs and stuff had been patched and fixed. And even now, I went back and I played Liberty City. Was it Liberty City, whatever it's called, last year? And it was brilliant. Well, it's got Idris Elba in it, so it's going to be brilliant. But it was brilliant. It's just a cracking story and a really great expansion. So yeah, I like Cyberpunk.
Okay, let us move on. Watch Dogs, the original one. Now, again, I remember this at the time. Now, the reason I'm including this is similar to Colonial Marines, and I mentioned it. Mentioned it when we discussed that. So this has become another one of the most famous downgrade controversy cases. So again, why so? Because it was revealed in 2012, and the trailer, and I remember seeing this. It looked truly magical, right? So it was rain-soaked visuals, dense crowds, advanced lighting, reflections, traffic systems. There was a real emphasis on the hacking gameplay being quite cinematic and dynamic looking. So at the time, it was really being marketed as the next sort of generation on the evolution of open world gaming. Then the game releases 2 years later, and basically the visuals just didn't match up.
It was not like that.
No, and even the game, I remember playing it, and I remember enjoying it, but we keep saying I'm a lot more forgiving of certain games, but it was a lot more monotonous than you were expected. So look, and it wasn't broken. It just wasn't the game that was promised during all the reveals and the previews. So memories on this or views on this one?
Yeah, no, totally. I think this is one of the ones, I could be wrong, but I think this is one of the ones where it wasn't just a trailer, it was someone on stage controlling.
I think you're right, yeah.
The demo, right, doing the demo live, right? Which I think the equivalent of that now is, when you get these, you get the robots that they're demoing what these robots can do.
Yeah.
And actually it's someone behind the scenes with a VR helmet on.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I think that's the equivalent of that these days. That person was not playing that game on stage. They was not playing Watch Dogs. It was pre-rendered stuff, but they're standing there with a controller that's doing fucking nothing. Right? I think that's generally, and that's the same as what happens now with these robots, where they're serving drinks or whatever, and it's actually some fucker with a thing on. But yeah, I remember this. I remember it distinctly. I remember watching it and going, I've got to get that game. That's a bit of me, right? Even though it's got Ubisoft Towers in it, that's a bit of me. And it came out, and I saw, it was probably on YouTube or something, I saw a review of the actual game, and I just went, I'm not buying that. And I genuinely didn't bother picking it up because it smashed my hopes so much as to what I thought it was to what it is now. So yeah.
But something also I missed out, and that I remember also fueled the controversy at the time was, so we talked about the modders in Alien Colonial Marines finding a mistake. What happened on Watch Dogs? PC players found in the config files that there were settings, unused settings and files suggesting higher-end visual effects were disabled or reduced. So, there were settings that were in there that were just, sort of not included in or being active in the game. So, why did I do this? And this just kept that. Yeah, this kept the game sort of, all the controversy around it just sort of rolling and rolling and rolling. So
it doesn't make sense though. Like, if you're going to release it, it doesn't matter. Like, people expect high-end PCs to run games more prettier. I can't think of the right words, but they expect them to be better looking on a high-end PC, right? I certainly do. Like I talked earlier about, I was playing that Lunar Abyss, right? I was playing it on the PC, high-end PC, everything up at for ultra settings, like looks amazing, runs slick as anything. When played it on the Xbox, like, yeah, it doesn't look as good. The gameplay's still there, it's still snappy, it's still great, but you expect it to look and run more performant on a high-end PC. So why would you intentionally go, let me hide those settings? You don't need those. It's weird.
Yeah, and look, and I found an old sort of article attributed to the game. So this is from Kotaku, and Ubisoft said, look, there are indeed settings that weren't used. They said they were deactivated for a variety of reasons, including possible impacts on visual fidelity, stability, performance, and overall gameplay quality. Modders are usually creative and passionate players, and while we appreciate their enthusiasm, the mod in question subjectively enhances the game's fidelity. So it's a lot of words to not saying why they didn't use it ultimately.
It's a lot of words to say. It's none of your fucking business.
Basically.
That's what it sounds like.
Basically. And on this Reddit forum, the first comment, so bearing in mind it's 12 years ago, the first comment is, don't worry, Ubisoft, you can lie, but the internet will never forget this bullshit. And look, we're talking about it all these years later, right? So, no, the internet doesn't forget.
I love it. I love Reddit.
Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain. So,
okay,
we discussed Metal Gear Solid 2. This is an odd one. Now, it's not necessarily a bait and switch as such, but again, I think it's around what players were going to expect from it. So the game was marketed as a complete and epic finale for the series. But what caused the outrage? Basically there was missing the feeling of it being an ending. There was cut content or rumors of cut content, unfinished second half debates, public drama involving Hideo Kojima and Konami, because this was at the time, I think, where the split sort of happened. Yeah. So it was promised to be, or it was positioned as a massive open world stealth evolution series. And look, and I've played the game and I've really enjoyed it. It was supposed to tie together Big Boss's transformation, huge freedom in mission approach, etc., etc. Now, what players got was the game worked and it delivered, but where things become controversial was the story missions were unevenly paced, narrative threads were left unresolved or abrupt, and the second half of the game shift structure that you could feel something was missing, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you know what? And I've not actually put it in here, but there was, I think it was all stemmed from the fact that, yeah, like we said, there was this acrimonious split between Kojima and that. I don't think they allowed him to finish the game. So the end of the game was kind of repeated missions. So I guess this, whilst it's not a bait and switch again in terms of deliberately misleading people or downgrading the game, it's that classic of what developers or publishers possibly are promoting a game to be, and what the public construe that to be, and what they then get.
Some more over-promising and under-delivering.
Yeah.
I played the game maybe for a couple of hours. At the minute I started having to fucking tie balloons to cows to put them, I just fucking lost interest. In that Kojima as is now way that he does things, I get to a point where I'm like, I don't fucking get it. Like you're asking me to do a million things, and I'm a kind of quite a linear single lizard brain guy. Like, just if I've got to go at point A, shoot that thing, get that, I'll do that. But you're kind of going, here's a million options. And by the way, you can now tie something around this guy and make him work for you. And I'm like, what? Why? Can I go and shoot that person? That would let me go. And I'm sure you can play the game in that way, right? So I'm not putting it, I didn't give it long enough for it to sink in for me. And again, in that same way with the story thing, I'm not really that bothered about it. For me, I wasn't really that bothered about it. But, I can see why other people would be really pissed off that it didn't give them the sense of closure that they expected. And if a studio and a lunatic like Kojima are falling out, genius lunatic, are falling out, it's no fucking surprise the game ends up a muddled mess in certain respects.
But you can find online as well. So I'm looking at a Reddit thread here of what is allegedly the cut content, and there is so much that and we're talking about whole segments of the game, maps. We're talking about mechanics, weapons, items, models, animations, dialogue. You know, there's a lot cut out now. As I said, the game I think is still is clearly is playable. It's enjoyable. The worst thing for me is I want to replay it, but and if you played it, you know it's the opening where you're in the hospital. That is a painful...
That's brilliant. I loved that.
No,
bit.
I didn't. I don't mind it.
I love that bit. I love the crawling through things and the fire and the. Do you not like? I quite enjoy it. See, I enjoy a good thing like that. I like a scene setter.
Yeah, but it's setting the scene, and it's like
I didn't fucking like riding through the desert on a horse, Dan. That you know.
But it's like shorten that scene a little bit.
Oh yeah. It could have been shortened.
That's what I meant. I'm not complaining about the thing as a whole because that opening was quite bombastic.
But Dan, what the fuck is wrong? You don't walk into a Kojima game going, "This is going to have some really quick cutscenes."
But it's not even a cutscene because
his games are basically a fucking 3-hour movie with small sections.
But it's not even a cutscene. It's you've got to crawl. I'd rather it be a cutscene. And so I don't have to actually do the crawling bit.
I don't want a 4-hour quick time event to open a game.
It's not even a quick time event. I have to push up on it. Just do it for me.
All right, slow time event.
Yeah. Oh, I'm losing my voice. Well, I think there might be. I might just do a couple more. Actually, there's.
Yeah, if you don't include Anthem, I'm going to lose my shit.
All right, I better include Anthem then. That was one I was going to cut
because that I have got stuff to say on.
All right, Anthem. Okay, so reveal trailers suggested that this was going to be a polished, shared world looter shooter with dynamic systems. What arrived was a game that allegedly had great, I say allegedly because I've not played it, great flying mechanics, but thin content, repetitive missions, and messy systems. So yeah, it was marketed as a shared world experience, deep cooperative storytelling, meaningful player choice, seamless Iron Man style traversal, dynamic world events, and a strong story-driven BioWare RPG in multiplayer systems. What players got when it launched was strong movement but weak structure, thin narrative integration, repetitive mission design, endgame, and loot issues. So, Dan, as you wanted to talk about it, yeah, give us your view.
So let's have a bit of context, right? This is BioWare at the height of their power. Right, this is BioWare coming hot off the back of, you know, a certain game that you enjoy, a certain series of games, right? And doing, yeah, right. And so they are the RPG world builders, right? You know, par excellence. They are. That's who they are. And they tip up and they go, you see that Destiny thing? Yeah, we got something that'll fucking blow that out of the water. It's amazing, right? And they come up with this demo at E3. That is. You know, we joked at the top of the show about, you know, they promised the, you know, fighting dinosaurs on the moon with laser guns and stuff like that. That was essentially what the Anthem demo was, to me anyway, right? You watched this demo and you were like, your jaw was on the fucking floor, dude. You were like, because at the same time, you've got BioWare doing this, you've got Marvel over there with Iron Man, and everyone's going, I want an Iron Man suit, right? Because I don't care who you are. You wanted an Iron Man suit. You were getting an Iron Man suit. You were getting a Destiny killer, and you were getting the RPG threads of a fucking BioWare game. You're going, oh my God, it's the Holy Trinity, right? I am now like fucking 10 years old again. And you see this demo, right? And this fucking thing flying down, and it goes underwater, and it comes back up, and there's these epic battles and stuff. And you're like, holy shit, man, this game is going to be the Don. Like, this game's going to take over the world. This is the GTA 6 of its time, right? And then the game turned up. And you went, what the fuck happened? Like, even, what is the biggest ripoff, right? There are elements in that opening demo that they showed at E3 that are comparable to the actual game. There are scenes like, you know, cameras, like shot scenes, you know, CGI that are the same as, but yet completely different in terms of visual, you know, sound. Everything is like, why did you take what was clearly working and turn it into a steaming pile of shit? The mechanics were still good.
Yeah.
Like, you know, the flying around and shooting shit, it was so derivative and boring. It was like everything was repetitive. All the fetch quests. It was, you know, anything you get from a game these days that you kind of go, oh, fucking, always any trope, or it was in there. and you were like, where's the fucking BioWare-ness of this game?
Yeah.
You know, where's that storytelling? Where's that deep quest and narrative thing that you really want and desire from? Because Destiny were already doing it, right? The guys over at Bungie were already doing that, like up until a certain point, right? Destiny wasn't always super successful in its storytelling, but certainly it was leagues ahead of what they were doing on this, which is a real shame because actually the world they built and the potential for this game was phenomenal. It could have been incredible. And I know it's just shut down recently and, you know, lots of people weren't fans of it, but I think it gained a bit of a cult status of being that game that failed. It was just so fucking disappointing because it not just looked, it had the potential to be something so fucking special. And it didn't. You know, I think they did this thing almost a year after or something. They were doing it right. We've heard you all. We're going to do this Anthem next or Anthem Future or something where they were going to go, oh, we're going to rebuild it from the ground up and make it that thing that you want. And then about 6 months later, went, oh no, we cancelled that. And you were like, so you've not just disappointed me once,
You've done it.
now fucking disappointed me twice. So yeah, I will never ever forgive them for that. And that's why I fucking hate Mass Effect, Dan.
No, don't hate Mass Effect. Why you got collateral damage to Mass
Why you
Effect?
got to bring Mass Effect into this, man?
Yeah.
BioWare.
Right.
I was going to say BioWare, but I thought it was funny to say Mass Effect.
No. Right. I'm actually going to just look at time. I'm going to scrap a load of them. I'm going to do one more to finish, but I'm going to do an honorary mention that I've just thought of. And it's intentional. It's not a bait and switch or overpromise and under-deliver in that sense. But I feel it fits in this, and I'm just going to say it now: the Avengers game, because the opening of that game,
same,
yeah, the opening,
that was Anthem all over again.
Yeah, the opening was a great opening, and then it turns into a completely different game, and I'm like, I just want to play the prologue over and over again. Yeah.
That's why I'm surprised you haven't played Anthem, because that's exactly what that did. The opening prologue was like, oh, this is really cool. This could be a fucking awesome game, and then you got into the game, and you went, this is really shit. Like. But I don't know what happened.
But it's true. It's two totally different games, isn't it? It's two totally different
100%.
Yeah.
100%. Division did the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, Division was better in a way, but that demo in that Snowflake engine they originally showed looked like amazing. You crawl past cop cars and use, doors for cover, and you were like, and the toys you were playing with, and then you got the game and went, oh, it's not the same thing. It was good. I enjoyed Division and Division 2, but it wasn't what they wanted.
Well, I'm gonna.
Sorry, what's your
I'm
last
going
one?
to finish on this, and it is a game from a developer, but I feel like the developer. I'm really worried about, because when we talk about this, Dan, just reminder, we're almost 2 hours in. That's all I'm going to say. I feel like you could double this episode. It's
I've had sleep.
I could change this to just Peter Molyneux as a whole. But
he's the king. He's the king of bait and switch, right?
I mean, I did, that's it. I did have one of his games. The games I had was Goddess, but in theory, we could have had Fable. We could have had Project Milo. We could have had, we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, we could have had Curiosity, What's in the Cube, in the sense of the prize.
Yeah.
The prize. But this was Goddess. So Goddess was being touted as a successor to games like Populous, which I loved at the time. I was never really into God games years ago, but that game I absolutely loved.
Populous had something special.
Yeah. Peter Molyneux pitched Goddess as the spiritual successor. Early promises included that you could shape and sculpt entire landscapes in real time. Civilizations evolve dynamically based on your actions. Deep emotional connection with followers, a living, persistent world that grows over years and years and years, and much like an acorn into a tree, I guess. And it was a true God simulation, right? What players got?
Sure.
Yeah, what players got was a game that felt very different. You got limited God powers. The terrain manipulation was shallow compared to what we saw, what was being hyped up beforehand. There were mobile-style progression systems. There was a thin simulation depth, so civilizations felt less autonomous than promised. The living world felt more like a structured progression rather than something dynamic. Now, why it caused much backlash was the Molyneux effect. I mean, I'll hand over to you shortly, so bear with. There was the Kickstarter era trust breakdown. So Goddess was funded partly through crowdfunding, which then, I mean, this I can see this. It created a sense of we are backing a vision. So the reason we are giving money is because of that. And ultimately, the living world never arrived. So, Dan, Peter Molyneux, and Goddess.
That man is the single reason why British people look bad. I mean, he is literally, he's only there to hold up his skeleton. He just, the guy, why? Right? He has ruined everything he's ever touched. Yes, I love Fable, but I don't love Fable because Peter Molyneux promised the earth. I love Fable because Lionhead Studios, without him, did an amazing job on it. But the guy has always let everyone down when he's touched something. And I will never forgive him for that. The one decent thing he did was Fable, and then he fucked that up. So, screw that guy.
Peter Molyneux is an interesting one. Peter, if you're listening or if anyone knows him, I would actually love to sit in a room and talk with him, because I think the thing with him is, and look, Fable was great. Black and White.
Probably his lawyers I'll be talking to.
Actually. It was. He did another good game. It was called Black. Was it Black and White? I think it was called
Black and White.
I enjoyed that. I think the thing with him is it feels like a kid in an adult's body, in a sense of so excited and wants to do something. He's got a vision of doing something, but what he'd never learned from feels like, don't say these things until you can actually deliver them. Do you know what I mean? I think I can't fault his ambition in his mind or his enthusiasm for doing it, but what you can fault him is that those things were never delivered.
His mouth is writing checks his ability can't cash.
Yeah.
Is that what he's doing?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, and that's the thing. And I think, look, the legacy is, what would his legacy be? Like you said, he's British. I think over the years, gaming industry has had some massive British talent and some British wins.
Yeah.
But he will be looked at as the person that, I'm not going to say lied. That's not what I'm saying. But the guy didn't deliver on a lot of claims, I guess.
He fucking misled people. There's no two ways about it.
We ain't got lawyers, Dan.
Oh yeah, fair point. But I think there's enough evidence out there to support anything we say, right? It's like, can you grow a tree from an acorn in the Fable? No, you can't. Okay, so he misled people. I think, can you interact with a digital avatar on a screen and pass them a drawing of a fish? No, you can't. Oh, well, that I think, all of these things add up to the fact that, gamers are a pretty standard kind of person, right? They just want people to go, here's a game we've made. It does these things. Do you like it? Yeah. Okay. Well, there you go. What they don't want is someone going, here's this thing that, is the best thing ever fucking built ever. And no one's ever done this thing before. And when you get it, I promise it will all be there. And then get it and it's not there. We're pretty simple, right? We just want what we're told we're getting. And he's the king of not doing that.
It's like he's having an ideas meeting, at work when you're having an ideas session at the start of a project. But it's like he's doing that in real time on the internet and out to everyone.
Yeah. You're like, is that going to happen? No, definitely not.
So I think that's why I had Goddess originally, but you could have anything with him. And for me, I will never forgive him for Project Milo, because I remember being so hyped for that and thinking, this is the evolutioning, and maybe that's on me, right? But I remember at the time thinking that was the evolution in gaming I wanted. And no, I'm not going to have it on me. I'm going to defend myself because that was what was shown. I'm arguing with myself.
That was what you were supposed to be getting.
Yeah.
And the same as if you open a cube, you're going to get something that will change your life.
Yeah. And that was linked to this game, actually, wasn't it? That's right. So yeah, it was linked to that game. So this is a double whammy there with the.
Yeah, I'm sorry. He's not forgiven. He's off my Christmas list. He's in room 101 or whatever it's called. Where do you put all the rubbish? Room
101. But look, but Peter, if you are listening or anyone knows him, if you want to come on and talk to us about this, because look, I mean, like I said,
defend yourself.
Yeah, I don't think you can fault the ambition, the enthusiasm, and
totally.
the willing. But we have said the whole point of this episode shows that you have to be careful with what you're saying and what you're kind of promising to deliver, because ultimately gamers you can only fool people up until the game is released. Once the game is released, that's it.
Gamers are simple people, but like me, they're also vicious when stirred.
Right. I think that was it. I was going to say that. Is there
You did really well at keeping this under 2 hours as well, Dan.
It's
like, sorry, people. Before we started recording, Dan was like, "I'm really tired. We've got to keep this to 1 minute 40, 1 hour 40, and it will help you with editing." I know you just wanted to go to bed. That's not what happened. Dan kept talking. You, not me.
To be fair, I think the first 15 minutes was me deciding that the opening skip wasn't right. Literally after I pressed
that is
record.
also true. Your brain funk, yeah. And you also had about 6 other games on there you didn't cover. So well done. You've done a good job today.
Right.
It was very good though. I was extreme. Look, I'm very excited to be back working with you. It's awesome, and also I really enjoyed that episode.
Oh, brilliant! Thank you. Look. If you've got an example of a bait and switch or an overpromise and under-delivered game that we haven't discussed, let us know. And we probably haven't discussed because, like Dad said, I think I had another 10, which I've realised I can't go through. Let us know. Drop us a note. If you've got any comments on the ones we discussed, because, look, I think the ones, especially Aliens, Cyberpunk and Watch Dogs were massive ones. And look, Metal Gear Solid, whilst they weren't technically bait and switch in the sense of, as I keep saying, sort of downgrading, I think they played with gamers' emotions. So if you've got any views on that, you remember those, or you had any experience, let us know. Drop us a comment. Dan, anything from yourself?
No, just remember to like and subscribe if you so care to. Thank you for sticking with us, and thank you, Dan, for that wonderful walk down horror of memory lane of games that didn't meet up to my lofty expectations. I'm going to go back to Mina the Hollower. That's what I'm going to do.
And I'm going to try sleep before the next episode. So we'll see you next week.